So the authors of The Challenger Sale have come up with a new book called The Challenger Customer. And I've had several clients ask me to review this and tell them what I think. Well, I gave it a chance. I honestly did. So let's start with the beginning. If you haven't read The Challenger Sale, you can pretty much skip this book. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's kind of the most popular sales book in the B2B complex sales space. And I think what happened here was that they figured out what they missed in the first book. And you've got to start at the beginning. It was written by, four guys who have never sold. Get on LinkedIn, look at their profiles. If you've been in sales one day, you have more selling experience than these four guys combined. Given that, okay, who's sponsoring this? Their employer, CEB, Corporate Executive Board. Sounds like a research firm. It's not. It's a consulting firm who works for basically, suffering companies, stale old school companies trying to regain market share. So not exactly the best salespeople in the world. So, and what do? So it's all based off of so-called research. Yet again, they don't publish the research. It's not independent research. It's not verified research. It's not scientific. So it's basically SurveyMonkey interpreted to sell their consulting. And it's very naive. Clearly, they learned from the first book that they did not understand the complex sale. They thought all you had to do was go in and bring some insight, which they define as something that the client doesn't know. Well, how do you know they don't know it before you bring it in? It's just so amateurish and intellectual phoniness of people who have never sold trying to guess what selling is like. And at least they're trying to understand that the complex sale is not a one sales call deal. It's not just one presentation. That's a simple sale. The complex sale, if you're not familiar with it, has many people involved. You have user buyers, economic buyers, legal, purchasing, security, standards committees. You have all these people, and they've figured this out now after 5 years. But what they did is they misled everybody with the first book, thinking all you have to do is bring in insight and you're the best salesperson because our survey says so. Great. Thanks a lot. So basically everyone went out and bought Challenger's Sale book and then the training, and they fell on their face. And I told everybody, look at my YouTube videos on the Challenger Sale. I called this out 5 years ago. I said it was a great skill. Going in and debating clients who want to be debated is a good skill. But there's a inverse correlation here in that what causes great sales is people who have experience and skill to be able to debate their client that they get over years of experience, not that they can simply debate solely, that they understand when it fits and when it applies. In a lot of cases, it doesn't, and it's disastrous. So basically what this book is an apology for the first book, saying is, hey, we missed 80% of the problem, or probably 90% of the problem, and here's the real solution. And of course, the real solution is you got to find a better, smarter customer, which means I don't know how to sell, but if you find a better, smarter customer, it'll be easier to sell, which is a real cop-out. So, of course, it's not based off of real world experience, people who have actually done it, people who have been in the trenches, people who have really tried and figured it out. No, it's based off of surveys. And of course, they don't publish the surveys, so how are we really to believe it? Are they misinterpreting the surveys? And let's face it, what salesperson fills out a survey? Every great salesperson I've ever met would rather go to the dentist than fill out a survey. So if they did fill out the survey, it would be, under the pressure of waterboarding. And what the information that they'd give would be, I would say, in question at best. So what came out of this? Eureka. They find out exactly 5.4 people are involved in a complex sale. Again, the complex sale is high dollar amount, disruptive change to the organization, many people involved. Meaning, if you're selling door to door and there's one person home, that's a simple sale. You're selling door to door, there's two people home, it's more complex. You sell to a business, it's even more complex. And I agree with them that today selling has become much more complex because you've got bigger companies, got more options. You got people who are not career, when I say career, I mean lifetime oriented at the company. They're there for a couple of years, they move on. So they're typically not, the 20, 30 year people anymore. So I don't know what a 0.4 person looks like, but just imagine these 5 people are involved in your deal. Some people like you, some people want to change, some people don't care. We've all seen this. Anybody who has sold business to business has seen this, where you have people who will talk to you and be very friendly but have no power. And this is not a new thing. This has been talked about since the beginning of time, since there has been a complex sale. And many people have written about this in a much clearer, more direct way, and that is much more useful. And I'll get to those books at the end, books that I've used for 30 years that have been much clearer. So now there's 5.4 people. Well, in your sale, how many people really get involved? There's typically a person who is interested, and what we've usually called them is the champion. They've been called different things by different methodologies. The fox, I remember that was very popular. Find the fox, the person who knows how to figure things out within the company. Kind of a gray-haired person who's been around for a while, who's really runs the organization, but has the informal power, not the formal power. It's not based off of title or experience, but of capacity, the ability to persuade other people, your internal salesperson. And anybody who's sold B2B knows this person and knows that, yes, when you have this person, the deal is much easier. And if you have a false fox, somebody who pretends that they know what they're doing, will talk to you, will take up all your time, but really has no formal power or informal power, it's a waste of time. This is news to the authors, okay? This is a eureka moment to them. But anybody who's been in complex sale for more than a couple years would know this by heart. So what do? They come up with these profiles again, which are, I think they're actually more helpful on the customer side than they are on the sales side. Because you do get these kinds of people in all kinds of companies, but nobody fits into any one of these exactly. Nor do you find that champion, and they try and poo-poo the champion because they can't use that word, otherwise the book has nothing original in it. But we've used the word champion before, and everyone has a different word for it. I've called it the maverick within the account, the person who is going to help you make change, because this is not natural. A complex sale is not a natural thing to happen. This is not somebody ordering the next 1,000 pounds of concrete. This is the person who's making a change in how the company does business. And to do that, the old school way and what they were originally teaching was going in, talking to the decision maker, which they figured out there is no single decision maker. It depends on what decision you're trying to make. So you would go in and talk to that person who doesn't exist. You would challenge them with insight, commercial insight now, not just insight, commercial insight. Okay, let's pretend that existed, and you know what it was, and they didn't know what it was, and pretend that you bought into their horseshit. You go in and you talk to them, and now they're admitting. You go on the LinkedIn YouTube channel and you can watch the author present this, and he basically falls on his sword for 15 minutes about the failings of his first book because he's never sold. He pulled this shit out of his ass, and now he thinks he's a sales rep, and now he can teach everybody how to sell without any single experience. So you would go in and talk to this high-level person, and you get him excited, and let's say it worked. And what would they say? And he admits this. He goes, I got to go talk to my people. Well, guess what? The people are like, well, I don't know about this. How's this going to affect me? And they clearly don't understand this in the second book, that they think that everybody in the company, except for the go-getter or the climber here, is out for themselves. Everyone else is completely out for the company. And we've always seen that. You know, you see your coworkers are all out for the company, right? They're not out for themselves. Yeah. They all pretend to be out for the company and not out for themselves. So what they do here is identify and label the people within the company. A blocker, yeah, you want to sell to them. The teacher, I'm not really sure I've ever met a teacher. You find the go-getters, skeptics, you find a lot of them. You find the friend, somebody who will talk to you. And entry-level salespeople love the friend, where they'll meet with you, they'll talk with you. They love going to lunch and dinner and coffee with you, and because they're lonely, not because they're going to buy anything. And the guide who knows the organization and will give up information. The climber, this is the person out for themselves. So these are somewhat useful. They are. And you'll meet these type of people within the account. And what you do want to find, and I agree with this, the champion, but they call it, what do they call it? The mobilizer, or what they call the challenger customer, which this is like, oh, we got it all wrong. You don't want to be the challenger salesperson. You want to find the challenger customer, because selling is so hard. It's much easier to find a simpler, smarter customer. Somebody, and I can't tell you how many managers I've had. Can't you find a smarter customer? Somebody who's dying to buy tons of our product? Well, yes, I'd like to find that. But those people tend to find you. You don't tend to find them. And this is kind of what I really don't like about the book, and this whole approach of trying to base bullshit or back up bullshit with bullshit research that's unvalidated, unscientific, which is basically marketing. You know, do you even know if they did it, and what form did they do? You know, one author says, 132 questions. Who would fill that out? I think this is ridiculous. So they break down the customer into these mobilizers and talkers. Now it goes from the 7 or 6 profiles to two major ones, mobilizers and talkers. Of course, talkers are a waste of time, and mobilizers are the ones that you want to work with. Well, I think we know this, because you have like fake foxes and real foxes, people who can get things done and people who can't. What a lot of managers call juice. Does a person have the balls to get this deal done? Now, this is good, but the premise of the book is all wrong. They're sending you in the wrong direction. They're telling you that don't go talk to all the players in the company and assume this mobilizer knows how to get something done within the company. Do they? Deals die because the sales rep doesn't know how to get something done at the company, and the customer doesn't know how to get anything done at the customer. Okay, so in my experience, it's a lot like two virgins trying to have sex for the first time, where the mobilizer wants to get the deal done. Let's say you suck as a salesperson. They want to get the deal done. They want the benefit, the outcome of your product, and they think they know how to do it because they go talk to their boss, they go talk to procurement, legal, standards, IT, everybody who's involved. And the premise of the book is they think that everyone gets together in a room and votes on the deal. And this is stupid and wrong, and you should never do that. In my book, I talk a lot about divide and concur. Where you never want to get a group together and ask a question, because what do you get? You get lowest common denominator, which I agree with, and avoid risk, buy as little as possible, or delay. And that's why, because it's safe. Nobody wants to stick their neck out because they're out for themselves. They're not out for the company. Now, if you don't understand how to get a deal done, and the mobilizer doesn't understand how to get the deal done doesn't get done. It doesn't matter how great the mobilizer is, how much firepower they have in the account. If they don't understand how to get funding allocated, which you have to understand, if they don't understand the legal issues, if they don't understand the procurement requirements, if you have to understand this, and this takes time and experience. You're not going to learn it from a survey or reading a book written by a guy who's never sold. You're not going to read it there. You're going to have to learn from people who have sold, people have done deals before, people who understand the questions to ask, and ask them to the people who understand the answers to them. It's not going to be an academic exercise. You have to learn from people who have actually done it. So this strategy is basically find the smarter, more motivated customer. Duh. Who didn't know that? You don't need a book to do this. And then this is their strategy. And basically, it is like one step beyond their first book. They finally figured out going in and challenging somebody is not enough. You build interest. What do they do with that interest? That interest typically dies because they don't know what to do with that interest. So here they say, oh, what you got to do is keep finding the right person and then giving them insight, more insight. And it's kind of crazy that they're trying to take what's in your head and put it into their head. And that's good. But what happens is you end up playing telephone. Basically, they have to take what's now in their head and put it into someone else's head, as opposed to you guiding them through the process of what exactly is going to happen. Okay, who are you? Who has to get the funding? They don't understand that the complex sale is broken into two major pieces. There's the technical side, the side that determines, does your product fit? Does your product add value? How does it fit compared to everything else? What is their management going to require as far as technical due diligence to verify that your product is the right fit? Then the business side, how do you get it financially justified, the money allocated, the money moved into the right bin, the right documents in place, the right legal requirements in place, the standards approved, the purchasing process identified and started, and understand that everything has been vetted and the due diligence has been done. This is why the complex deals die, and everyone's scared to death of it because they don't know. They view it as a black box and there's black magic, more because they haven't done it. And so few people are good at it that so few people try to do it. In some ways, it is like medicine, where here the people are trying to do bloodletting simply because they think by letting the blood that they're curing something. They're curing the patient. This book doesn't really give you the insight into how companies really buy. It's just one step forward. It's finding the smarter customer, what they call the mobilizer. And we've already known this for 30, 40 years already, so there's nothing new. Then they come up with the idea of get marketing involved. That's what every sales rep knows, how great it is when you get marketing involved in a deal. Have more content that brings more insights. Well, if those insights don't apply to their business and you have to figure that out, you think marketing's going to figure it out? You think this guy's going to figure out what they need? Yeah. Put your money on this guy. He's really going to figure it out. He cares about the broad, the global space. He doesn't care about your deal. Now, these problems have been solved much better by much smarter people with much better experience. This book was originally written, I think, in the late 80s, Power-Based Selling. They talk about the fox, and they do a much better job of understanding how to win a complex deal based off of the person with informal power within the company. And it doesn't bog you down with having to deal with their methodology. They understand that this getting to the right person is critical, finding the right person. And what I've done is I've written a book, an ebook on this, and I've sold for 25 years. And my method is that you either find this person, you create this person out of somebody who could become this person, or you become this person. And that is possible. They're all possible. The easiest, of course, is to find them. The next hardest is to create them. And it is very hard for you to do it unless you have great selling skills and understanding of how companies buy. Because the motto is, you may know how to sell, but they don't know how to buy. Nobody has a class on how to change the organization. The organization is the way it is, and it's very sensitive. It doesn't like change. It doesn't like spending money. It doesn't like people becoming successful within it. It is the way it is. It likes to be the machine that it is, no matter how broken and corrupt it is. It doesn't like to change. It requires a unique skill and understanding, and it's a lot more than bringing a new idea in. You have to understand the complex sale. You have to understand the different components of it. You have to understand how to guide the people through it, and you cannot rely on a single person, no matter how great they are. And you can't rely on, bonehead research that's been unvetted, unvalidated, unscientific, and then cobbled together and put into a book and then, passed out and as gospel by people who have never really done it. So if you want to learn more about the complex sale, check out my podcast, The Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling. It's on iTunes and Stitcher Radio, where I talk about what really works today in the complex sale. Not horse shit, the truth. My experience and the experience of others that I have on the podcast. Thanks for listening. If this fits what you like, please put a like and a comment. Thank you.